GMPs. So what are GMPs? GMPs are the guidelines and principles set by the government's international food regulatory agencies to ensure high standards in processing, packaging and labeling of foods. GMPs are the proactive steps to make pure and safe food products. GMPs are the prerequisites for HACCP program. GMP is also sometimes referred to as CGMP. So what is C? The C stands for current, reminding manufacturers that they must employ technologies and systems which are up to date. So what is the objective of GMP? Guarantee high quality products to the consumer and delivering products free of all possible contamination. What is the benefit of GMP? Better design of the product, improved cleaning, less maintenance, increased productivity, increased efficiency, cut reworks and less downtime, increased safety, reduce consumer complaints, successful products, satisfied customer. What are the fundamentals of GMP? Premises and facilities, personal training and practices, sanitation and cleaning, pest control, equipment and utensils, transportation, receiving, storage and shipping, traceability and recall, chemical control, others. So we will learn about the first fundamental of GMP, which is premises and facilities. It includes location, grounds, building exterior, building interior. Building interior includes design and layout, structures, glass, corners and joints, floors, windows and doors, lighting, ventilation, drainage and sewage system, pipes and hoses. Access to premises. Employee facilities. Employee facilities include hand washing, washroom and toilet rooms, change rooms, lunch room and break rooms, cleaning and sanitizing facilities, storage facilities, waste collection and storage facilities, water. Water includes water supply, water quality, ice and steam. Location. The building in which food is processed or stored should not be located in close to the sites that are source of environmental pollutants, pest infestation, smoke, dust. Waste or stagnant water free areas, industrial and agricultural activity free areas. If any of these undesirable conditions exist, there should be adequate safeguard to protect against any potential contamination or pest infestation. Grounds. The ground of the building in which food is processed or stored should be adequately sloped and drained to prevent stagnant water, be free of waste and debris, be controlled for dust, and be adequately maintained to protect against becoming a source of contamination or pest infestation. In order to protect from pest, maintenance of the ground should address grass and lawns, shrubs, trees, receptacles for storage of garbage, and any structures located on the ground. In particular, the perimeter outline of the building exterior should be well maintained to prevent breeding or attraction of pests. Building exterior. The design, construction and maintenance of the exterior walls and roofs of the building should prevent the entry of source of contamination and pest and leakage of water into the building. Exterior walls should be free of cracks that could be breeding sites for pests, opening for exhaust fans and air intake ducts, and exterior drain pipes should be adequately screened and protected to prevent entry of pests. The loading and unloading areas of the building and all exterior doors and windows should be adequately protected to prevent entry of pests. Building interior. Building interior include design and layout. The design and layout of the building interior and the location of all structures, equipment, services and facilities should permit movement of personnel and equipment, flow of air, material and products, movement of waste and garbage, and storage of materials and products in a manner that prevent contamination and cause contamination of material and products. There should be designated areas for processing, for packaging, for raw material storage and preparation, and for finished product storage. Processing activities that are potential source of cross-contamination should be located in areas that are separated from other processing activities. The layout of the building should provide adequate workspace for plant employees to perform their tasks satisfactorily and adequate space for cleaning of all structures. The location of equipment should be such that it is accessible for regular cleaning and maintenance. Structures. The design and construction of all building structures such as floors, walls, ceilings, overhead structures, windows, doors and stairs, and all utilities and service structures such as ducts, pipes and drains should meet all requirements for construction of food plants. The materials used for construction and finishing of these structures should not be source of contamination and should be durable, impervious, not responsive, smooth and easily cleaned and maintained. The materials used for construction of walls and floors should withstand the routine plant operating conditions and the routine cleaning and sanitizing conditions. Glass or glass-like materials such as breakable plastic in food plants can be source of physical hazards and should not be used in processing areas where there is a likelihood of breakage that will result in contamination of product. The control of glass and glass-like materials in a food plant should be addressed in a glass policy that should cover instructions for dealing with breakage of glass and the control of glass and glass-like materials in items such as clocks, lights, gauges, containers and glasswares. Corners and joints in our structure should be designed to prevent accumulation of contaminants and to facilitate cleaning. There should be free of cracks and openings. The junctions between wall and floor should be designed to facilitate cleaning. Joints on walls, floors and ceilings should be sealed and should be easily cleaned. Floors. The surface of floor should be even but with appropriate slope for wastewater and other liquids to be drained at the designated outlets. Floor surfaces should be impervious, durable and free of cracks to facilitate cleaning. Windows and doors. Windows and exterior walls should be sealed or fitted with screens to prevent entry of pests. Exterior doors should be self-closing, should always be kept closed and should be without gaps or openings when closed to prevent entry of pests. Exterior doors should be kept closed to prevent unauthorized access into the building. Lighting. The building interior should be equipped with adequate light and lighting facilities to permit employees to carry out their designated tasks in areas where processing, handling, storage, testing, inspection and cleaning activities take place. Adequate lighting should be provided in hand washing areas, change room, locker room and toilet rooms. Ventilation. There should be adequate ventilation and air exchange throughout the building to prevent airborne contamination, condensation on any structure or equipment and accumulation of dust. High humidity should be avoided to prevent mold growth and some type of insects. The direction of airflow should not result in contamination or cause contamination of foods. Fans and other air blowing equipment should be operated in a manner that does not result in contamination. Air filters and dust collectors should be cleaned, maintained and replaced so that they are effective and do not become source of contamination. Drainage and sewage systems. The drainage and sewage system should be designed to prevent cross-contamination of sewage with other waste from the plant in order to avoid any potential for contamination. Drains should be adequately stopped to ensure there is no accumulation of wastewater or other liquid. The location of drains and drain traps should permit ready access for cleaning. The design and maintenance of the drainage system should prevent backflow of the wastewater into the building, pipe and hoses. Water pipes should be insulated, well maintained, free of condensation and mold growth. Water taps and hose connections should be free of leaks and water drips. Hose reels should be provided for storage of water hoses when not in use. Access to premises. The entrance and exit of a food plant should be controlled to prevent access by unauthorized personnel. Exterior doors should not open from the outside of the building. Food plant employees should use only the designated entrances and exits. Receiving and shipping locations should not be used by employees as entrance or exits. Access of visitors in the food plant should be controlled. Employee facilities. Hand washing. There should be accessible hand washing stations at appropriate locations with potable running water at a suitable temperature, soap or other hand cleaning and sanitizing materials, sanitary hand drying equipment or supplies for employees to wash and dry hands as required. The water control devices at the hand washing stations should be designed to protect against pre-contamination of washed hands. If disposable towel is used for hand drying, a covered garbage receptacle should be provided for used towels. There should be easily understandable signs posted at hand washing stations to remind employees to wash their hands. Washroom and toilet rooms. Washroom and toilet rooms in particular should be separated from and should not open directly into food storage, handling and processing areas. Washroom should be equipped with the required hand washing facilities, covered garbage receptacles and easily understandable signs to serve as reminders to employees. Change rooms. Change rooms should be available for employees to change from their personal external clothing into the designated work uniform and footwear. Change rooms should be equipped with lockers or suitable storage racks for employees to store clothing, footwear, and other personal items with receptacles for dirty work clothes and covered garbage receptacles. The design and location of lockers and storage racks in change rooms should facilitate cleaning. Lunchroom and break rooms. There should be designated lunchroom and break room for employees. Lunchroom should be equipped with appropriate appliances and food storage facilities for employees' food and with covered garbage receptacles. If smoking is permitted in lunchroom and break rooms, it should be restricted to designated areas and ashtrays should be provided. Cleaning and sanitizing facilities. Potable running water at the required temperature and pressure should be available for all cleaning and sanitizing activities. The required equipment and tools for cleaning and sanitizing should be available. Equipment and tools used for cleaning of food contact surfaces, food processing equipment, and utensils should be appropriately identified and stored so that they are separate from those used for cleaning of building structures such as floor and walls. There should be designated areas for cleaning of cleaning equipment and tools for their storage when they are not in use. Storage facilities. There should be adequate and appropriate facilities such as warehouse, storage rooms, silos, tanks, vats, bins, and other containers for the storage of raw materials, ingredients, packaging materials, products to be reworked or recycled, semi-finished products, finished products, cleaning materials, and non-food chemicals. These storage facilities should be designed to ensure there is no contamination, cross-contamination, or pest infestation of raw materials, ingredients, packaging materials, and semi-finished and finished products during storage. There should be separate storage facilities to segregate food material from non-food chemicals. Waste collection and storage facilities. There should be designated containers with covers if necessary for collection of waste and garbage and for their temporary storage until disposal. These containers should be properly identified and be made of durable, impervious material and contained in a sanitary condition. There should be no leakage from waste containers. Waste collection containers located on the grounds outside of the building should be maintained so that they are not source of contamination or pest infestation. Water supply. There should be an adequate supply of potable water at the desired temperature and pressure for use in processing operations and for cleaning. There should be facilities to ensure that temperature and pressure requirements of water can be achieved. Water quality. Only potable water should be used in all food plant processing and cleaning operations. The water quality should conform to all the guidelines for potable water based on microbiological, chemical, and physical specifications of applicable government agencies. Water should be tested periodically to determine if it complies with the specifications. The records of water quality test results should be maintained. If water treatment facilities are located on the premises, they should be adequately monitored and maintained. Records should be kept for water treatment activities. Water treatment for recirculated water should demonstrate compliance to the recirculated water quality specifications. Only approved chemicals should be used for treatment of the water used in food plants. Containers with chemicals for water treatment should be identified with labels and should be stored separately to prevent any potential contamination of food or food contact surfaces. Ice and steam. Ice for use in food plants should be made from potable water and should be handled and stored to protect from contamination. Steam that comes into the contact with food or food contact surfaces should be generated from potable water. Only approved chemicals should be used in boilers which generate steam for the purposes. These chemicals should be controlled in a similar manner as described for water treatment chemicals. Fundamental of DMP, which is personal training and practices. Employees play a critical role in ensuring the safety of foods produced at the plant. However, they should not contribute to or be a source of contamination or cross-contamination of foods. In this prerequisite program, the primary considerations are to ensure that both temporary and permanent employees have the required education and training, are adequately supervised and follow their instructions. Personal training. Food safety training. All food plant employees, including temporary employees, should be trained in the basic food safety principles and practices that are required to prevent contamination and cross-contamination of foods. This training should cover hygienic food handling practices, personal hygiene requirements, dangers associated with poor personal hygiene, unsanitary personal practices in a food plant. In addition, personnel who have the responsibility to monitor the adequacy of food safety practices of food plants should have the necessary training and experience to recognize and identify food hazards and situations that have the potential to lead to contamination or cause contamination of foods. This includes the training of supervisory personnel to recognize injuries or infection illness among food plant employees. The food safety training needs of employees in food plants should be reviewed periodically, and if necessary, additional training or refresher training should be provided. When food safety training is provided to employees, there should be an evaluation to determine that the training is understood and could be put into practice by the employees. The technical training needs of employees should be reviewed periodically, and if necessary, additional or refresher training should be provided. Technical training should also include on-the-job training and evaluation to ensure that employees understand the training and perform their tasks based on the training. Training records. Records should be kept as evidence that the relevant food safety training or technical training was provided to employees and that they were evaluated after completion of the training. In addition, there should be records to show that the training needs of employees are reviewed periodically. Personal practices. Personal hygiene. In order to protect against contamination of products, food plant employees are required to maintain satisfactory personal grooming and cleanliness and to practice good personal hygiene habits during all food handling operations. These include general guidelines of clothing and body, including hair and fingernails. Employees should refrain from placing fingers in mouth, nose or ears, and from eating, chewing, spitting and smoking during food handling operations, and avoid coughing and sneezing over unprotected products, food contact surfaces or food processing equipment. Personal cleanliness include bathing, hand, fingernails, hair, nose, mouth, ear, teeth, feet, cut, burns, sores, cosmetics, smoking, spitting, clothing and clothes. Bathing. Regular bathing at least once a day is essential, otherwise germs can be transferred to clothes and so into food. Ingestion of contaminated food with pathogenic germs can cause illness and even death. Hands. In order to protect hands from being a source of contamination of products, food plant employees should wash, sanitize if necessary, and dry their hands at the designated hand washing stations when their hands become dirty. Employees should wash hands before the start of the work, when re-entering their work area, after a visit to the toilet, after coughing or sneezing into their hands, or after handling raw material equipment, waste or waste containers, or after any other situation that will cause the hand to become dirty and be a source of contamination or cause contamination. They should wash their hands. Hands should be washed in hot water with the aid of brush and soap, rinsed and dried on a clean towel, suitable paper towel, or by a hand hot air dryer. Hands and fingernails, if not kept clean, can be a great source of danger as they can easily transfer bacteria on food. Preferably, antibacterial soap should be used for hand washing. The proper way of washing one's hand is to continue to rub both of your hands with hand soap, especially for the fingertips, for at least 30 seconds. Some industries provide hand gloves to their employees, however, they should be changed periodically. Rings, watches and jewelry should not be worn when food is handled. Particles of the food may be caught under these, multiply and transfer into the food. When food has to be plunged into plenty of water, salad and cabbage processing plant, they may not be properly washed because a watch is worn. Jewelry should not be worn in a processed food processing plant since it may fall off into the food unknown to the wearer. Fingernails should always kept clean and short, as dirt easily lodged under the nail can introduce bacteria into the food. Fingernails should be cleaned with a nail brush. Nail varnish should not be worn before handling and processing food. Hair should be washed regularly and kept covered when food is being handled. Improper care of hair shed dandruff into the food as unwanted food additive. Men's hair should be kept short, easy to clean. Women's hair should be covered as much as possible. Hair should never be scratched, combed or touched while handling and processing food. Bacteria could be transferred via hands to the food. Nose. Nose is an area of harboring vast number of harmful bacteria. It should not be touched when food is being handled. If handkerchief is being used, hands should be washed afterward. Ideally, a paper handkerchief should be used and then discarded. Avoid sneezing over food, people, and working area. Mouth or lips should not be touched by hands or utensils when which they come into contact with the food. No cooking utensils or fingers should be used for testing food. Bacteria may be transferred into the food. Teaspoon should be used for tasting and washed afterwards. Coughing over food and working area should be avoided. Ears should not be handled in food processing area. Germs can be transferred into food by touching the ear and then food. Teeth. Sound teeth are essential for good health. Teeth should be kept clean. Visit to the dentist on regular basis. One should brush one's teeth daily at least 2 times and floss after every meal. Feet. Feet handlers stand for many hours, so care of feet is important. Feet should be washed regularly and toenails should be kept short and clean. Tired feet can cause general tiredness, which leads to carelessness and ultimately lowering of the standards of hygiene. Cuts, burns, sores. Cuts, burns, sore and similar openings of the skin should be covered with waterproof dressing. Some people should not handle food in order to prevent harmful germs being accidentally transferred to the food. Cosmetics, if used by food handlers, should be in moderation, should not be used in food processing area, and hands should be washed afterward. Cosmetics should be put on clean skin and not used to cover up dirt. Smoking must never take place when there is food being processed. A cigarette in mouth can transfer germs and bacteria to the fingers and so into food. When cigarette is put down, germs can transfer to the working surface. Ash on food is objectionable. Smoking in food processing area is against the law of many countries. Spitting should never occur. Germs and bacteria can be spread by this objectionable habit. Spitting should be done directly into the toilet bowl and flush it after spitting. Do not forget to wash your mouth and hands before returning to the work. Clothing and cloth. Hair and beard restraints should be worn to completely cover hair and beard. Cloths should used for wiping clean utensils or used for holding hot cooking utensils or used to wipe working surfaces in case of spills should be kept clean and stored in sanitizing solution when not in use. Be sure to change sanitizing solutions at regular intervals. Outdoor clothing and other clothing taken off before wearing white working clothes and should be kept in lockers away from food processing area. Eating and drinking. Employees should eat and drink only in the designated lunchroom and break rooms or other authorized areas. Employees' food or drink should be kept in the designated areas and should be taken into the other work areas. Drinking of water should be done at the designated water fountains. Employees should not take their medication into their work areas. Illness and injuries. Food plant employees with certain illness or injuries should be excluded from food handling activities. Illness include jaundice, diarrhea, vomiting, fever, sore throat with fever, open or infected skin lesions, boils, cuts and burns, discharges from the eye, ear or nose, and any disease that can be transmitted through the food. Employees should inform their supervisors if they suffer from any of these health conditions. In addition, supervisory personnel in food plants should constantly monitor food handling employees for these injuries and illnesses. Visitors and non-company personnel. Control access to the premises. The access of visitors and non-company personnel to a foods plant should be controlled to avoid any potential source of contamination from these individuals. This control should apply to family members of employees, non-company personnel working on the premises, suppliers, customers, government inspectors, auditors, and individuals from educational and other institutions on organized visits and plant tours. Personal practices. Visitors and non-company personnel who are permitted entry into the food processing and handling areas of the food plant should be required to follow the same personal practices of the regular employees of a food plant. These include practices relating to personal hygiene, hand washing, eating, drinking, smoking, outer garments, personal eating, and illness and injury. Third GMP, which is the sanitation and cleaning. The prerequisite program covers all ongoing and periodic activities and operations that are directed at maintaining the environment, facilities, structures, and equipment in food plant under sanitary conditions at all times. Sanitation and cleaning program equipment cleaning and sanitizing, cleaning in place equipment, cleaning out of place equipment, utensils and food contact surfaces, master cleaning schedule, daily housekeeping, establishment cleaning, cleaning and sanitizing chemicals, cleaning tools and equipment, cleaning area, cleaning and sanitizing personnel, effectiveness of cleaning and sanitizing, sanitation and cleaning records. So sanitation and cleaning program, there should be a written program for cleaning and sanitizing of the structures, facilities and equipment in a food plant. The program should include detailed cleaning and sanitizing procedures, cleaning and sanitizing chemicals to be used, concentrations or dilutions of the chemicals, removal of residues of cleaning chemicals, cleaning tools to be used, frequency of cleaning and sanitizing. Each aspect of the cleaning and sanitation program should be monitored to ensure that the program is followed. There should be some verification to determine the effectiveness of the program. Sanitation records should be kept for the activities that are required, including the monitoring and verification of the sanitation programs. There should be a program for equipment cleaning and sanitizing. It includes all food processing and handling equipment, food storage equipment, storage refrigerators, freezers. For each type of equipment, there should be a schedule for cleaning and sanitizing along with any specific cleaning instruction. Cleaned in place equipment. In some food processing operations, certain equipment cannot be easily disassembled for cleaning between successive productions run, although this equipment should be cleaned at the end of each use. These type of equipment are considered CIP equipment. These should be written procedures for cleaning and sanitizing of each type of cleaning in place equipment. Cleaning out of place equipment. Certain food processing equipment should be disassembled for cleaning after each use or periodically. These are considered COP equipment. There should be instructions for disassembly and reassembly of cleaned out of place equipment in addition to instructions for their cleaning and sanitizing. Utensils and food contact surfaces. All utensils for food handling, containers, sprayers, pans and all food contact surfaces should be cleaned and sanitized as it is necessary for their prevention of contamination. They should be protected from contamination if they are stored after cleaning. Master cleaning schedule. Daily housekeeping. A program of daily cleaning should be in place to ensure that equipment and work areas are maintained in a clean state during routine daily operations so as to prevent contamination of the products. This may require that equipment, utensils, food contact surfaces, work areas and floors be cleaned periodically during daily operations. Cleanup of leaks and spills of all types of materials and products should be done as soon as possible or immediately if they are potential source of contamination or pest infestation. There should be monitoring and verification of this daily housekeeping program. Establishment cleaning. In addition to the daily housekeeping, a comprehensive program should be in place to ensure that every aspect of the establishment is subject to periodic cleaning to eliminate the potential for contamination. This program should cover all facility structures including lunchrooms, appliances, vending machines, break rooms, change rooms and toilet rooms, ceilings and overhead structures such as pipes and ducts, walls and floors of all structures, windows and doors and all equipment. The frequency and type of the cleaning should be specified for each facility or structure. There should be monitoring and verification of this cleaning program for the establishment. Cleaning and sanitizing chemicals. Chemical used for cleaning and sanitizing should be approved for as safe for by an appropriate government regulatory agencies. The manufacturer's guidelines and directions for use of these chemicals must be followed to ensure the effectiveness of the cleaning and sanitizing and to remove or prevent potential contamination. The chemicals themselves must not be a source of contamination. All packages and containers, including intermediate containers with chemical compounds used for cleaning and sanitizing, must be clearly identified by labeling and must be stored separately from food materials and products. Cleaning tools and equipment. All tools and equipment, for example brushes, dustpans, brooms, mops, sponge on the end of stick, trays, cars used for cleaning should be subjected to appropriate cleaning and storage. Broken or damaged tools should not be used. Tools used for cleaning, food processing, storage and handling equipment should not be used for other cleaning, should not be stored on the floor and should be identified and stored separately from tools used for the cleaning. In addition, tools used for cleaning of toilets and toilet rooms should be identified and may not be used for cleaning of the food processing, handling and storage areas. Cleaning area. There should be designated location and facility for cleaning of cleaning tools and equipment. This area or facility as well as all sinks and wash basins and surrounding areas should be kept clean and sanitary. Wash water should be removed and drained immediately to prevent the potential for contamination. Cleaning and sanitizing personnel. Personnel who are assigned cleaning and sanitizing tasks should be trained in the safe use of the cleaning and sanitizing chemicals and the proper handling, identification and storage of these chemicals. They should be provided with the directions for use, including the appropriate usage, concentration or dilution for food contact surfaces and instructions for removal of the residues of these chemicals from these surfaces. Effectiveness of cleaning and sanitizing. The effectiveness of the cleaning and sanitizing activities for the removal of the contamination should be verified. This should be done by microbiological swab test, visual inspection of the cleaned equipment and areas, observing employees who carry out the cleaning and sanitizing activities. In addition, there should be no unacceptable residues of cleaning and sanitizing chemicals on food contact surfaces. Sanitation and cleaning records. Records should be kept as evidence. The activities in the program are performed according to the required instructions and frequency. Program is monitored routinely and then verified for this effectiveness. Pest control. This prerequisite program covers the specific activities that are directed at controlling, preventing and excluding the occurrence of the pest, particularly rodents, insects and birds from a food plant. Pet animals such as cats and dogs should not be allowed to enter food plant. Pest control program, pest control devices, monitoring and maintenance of the devices, pest control personnel, pest control chemicals, monitoring for effectiveness, pest control records. There should be a formal pest control program. There should be a formal documented pest control program that is maintained for the establishment. The program should cover all of the preventive measures required to exclude and eliminate pests, various pest control devices, pest control chemicals, monitoring of the pest activity. Compliance with the government regulations on use of the pesticide and pest control devices. It is common for the food companies to engage the services of the external pest control contractors to undertake some of the required pest control activities. Pest control devices. Outside base stations for the rodent control, netting and mechanical traps for birds. Inside devices such as mechanical traps, glue boards for rodents, insect light traps for flying insects. These devices should be located at appropriate positions where they are most effective for removing pests from the building. Outside devices should be located so as to prevent entry of pests into the building. There should be an updated diagram or map to show the actual location of all pest control devices both inside and outside of the building. Monitoring and maintenance of the devices. The pest control devices should be monitored at an established frequency for any pest activity. If the pest control devices has lost its effectiveness, it should be serviced. A written report of this monitoring and maintenance should be kept. Pest control personnel. The personnel responsible for placement, monitoring and maintenance of the pest control devices and for handling and use of the pesticides should have the required qualification and training, including food safety training. If any external pest control company is contracted by a food plant to carry out the activities of the pest control program, it should be required to provide evidence that it has the appropriate license or certification from the appropriate government agency. Pest control chemicals. Only chemicals approved as pesticides by the appropriate regulatory agency should be used for pest control in a food plant. Restricted use pesticides should only be used when the required with the required supervision. General use pesticides should be used by the personnel with the required training. Every effort should be made to prevent the likelihood of contamination of food and food contact surfaces with the pesticides. Pest control chemicals. All pesticides and all pesticide application must be clearly identified with labels and stored in a protected locked area for removed from food processing area and storage areas for raw materials, ingredients, packaging materials, cleaning materials and products. Monitoring for effectiveness. The pest control program should be monitored for effectiveness on a continuous basis. When there is evidence of pest or pest activity at the pest control devices or at any location into a food plant, the source of the pest should be identified and eliminated as soon as possible. The pest control program should be reviewed to determine that the preventive measures of the program are effective. Pest control records. A food plant should maintain records as part of its pest control program. These should include the reports of the scheduled monitoring of the pest control devices along with evidence of the pest and pest activity and records relating the use of any pesticide for pest control. Fundamentals of the GMP, which are transportation, receiving, storage and shipping. This prerequisite program covered the activities directed at transportation and receiving of all materials to be used in the processing and packaging operations, storage and warehousing of all materials and products at the food establishment, and shipping and transportation of all foods to the point of delivery. The primary consideration is on prevention of contamination, cross-contamination, and deterioration of the products by controlling of incoming raw material, ingredients, packaging materials, and processing aids from the time they arrive at food plant, their subsequent inspection, acceptance, and storage until they are utilized. Control of the storage of semi-finished and finished products from the time they are produced, their subsequent move to the designated storage areas or containers, their shipment, delivery, and distribution to their use or point of use at sale. Transportation and receiving location, transport vehicles, verification of received materials, handling and storage, raw material, ingredient, packaging material, non-food chemicals, semi-finished and finished products, storage conditions, stock rotation, first in, first out. Transportation or shipping, finished products, transport vehicle, delivery. Transportation and receiving location. The location for receiving raw material, ingredient, packaging material, and non-food materials at a food plant should be separate from food processing areas to prevent any likelihood of cross-contamination of products. The activities at the receiving location should be limited to inspection and, if necessary, sampling of the incoming materials. Transport vehicles, all vehicles including containers, rail cars, and tankers that deliver raw materials, ingredients, and packaging materials should be inspected to ensure that the sanitary conditions of the vehicle are satisfactory and there was no potential for tampering, contamination, or infestation of materials during the delivery. This inspection should be carried out before or during the unloading of the vehicle. It should address the actual state of the materials in the vehicle, including the integrity of the packages and the container, ceiling, walls, and floor, the presence of any abnormal odor, the presence of hazardous materials or pests, the verification of the seals and seal numbers, any requirement for temperature control, and any other specific requirement associated with a particular delivery. Transport vehicles, any acceptable condition relating to the sanitary conditions of the transport vehicle or damage to package or containers or evidence of tampering should be addressed before the materials are transferred to their designated storage areas in the plant. A record of the inspection of the transportation vehicle and the incoming material at the receiving location should be kept. Verification of the received materials, raw materials, and ingredients received at food plant should be verified to determine that they are suitable for their intended use. Raw materials and ingredients that contain biological, chemical, or physical headers that would not be reduced to an acceptable level by operation should not be used in the processing. Specifications or other requirements relating to safety and quality should be established for raw material, ingredient, and packaging material and should be used on the basis for acceptance when the verification is done. Verification of received materials. Raw materials and ingredients that are covered by HACCP plans should not be used until the HACCP plan requirements are met. Handling and storage. Raw materials, ingredients, and packaging materials. The handling of the received materials during unloading and discharge of the vehicles and the transfer to the designated storage areas should ensure that there is no damage or contamination. Raw materials should be stored separately from finished products to prevent cross-contamination. All received materials should be appropriately identified and transferred to the designated storage area immediately after unloading. Non-food chemicals. All non-food chemicals such as cleaning and sanitizing agents and pesticides should be stored in a secured, segregated areas to prevent contamination of other materials, products, or equipment. Semi-finished and finished products. Semi-finished and finished products should be appropriately identified or tagged and transferred to their designated storage areas immediately after processing. All necessary precautions should be taken to prevent contamination during handling and storage of these products. Storage conditions. The conditions for storage of all received materials and all products, including product to be reworked, should prevent and protect from damage, deterioration, contaminations, cross-contamination, or pest infestation from storage. During storage, temperature, for example, refrigeration, freezing, and humidity conditions for storage should be established. All storage conditions, including pest control requirements, should be monitored and records of this monitoring should be kept. Storage conditions that are covered by HACCP plans should meet all the HACCP plan requirements. Stock rotation, first in, first out. The use of the stored materials and ingredients and the shipment of the finished product should be controlled in a manner that older or first received materials and ingredients are used first and the older or first products are shipped first. The rotation of stock products prevents the duration of the stock prevents extended storage of the materials and products that can result in their deterioration and pest infestation. Transportation or shipping. Finished products, only products that have met all the food safety requirements, including all the HACCP plan requirements, the product specification and packaging and labeling requirements relating to the food safety and which have been approved for shipment to the customer should be prepared for transportation and delivery. Transport vehicle. All product transportation vehicles, including tankers, containers and rail cars, should be inspected before product is loaded for delivery to the products. This inspection should cover the cleanliness and sanitary conditions of the vehicle and its accessories, its ceiling, walls and floors, capability to meet any requirement for temperature and for any seal and any restriction related to the previous use of the vehicle or previous load carrying by the vehicle. A record of the inspection should be kept. Delivery. Adequate measures should be taken during transportation to prevent damage, deterioration, contamination of or tampering with products that are to be delivered or to customers. Any temperature requirement during transportation must be met and the temperature should be recorded. Locks and seals on delivery vehicles must be maintained during transportation if seals have to be removed for inspection by customers. Agencies at border crossings, the seals must be replaced and this would be recorded. Traceability and recall. This prerequisite program addresses the requirements for identifying and tracing of all the raw materials, ingredients and products and including all semi-finished, finished, reworked or recycled products and the procedures to be followed for conducting a recall of the food that has reached the marketplace should this become necessary. In the food industry, it is quite common for foods to be recalled from the marketplace. A recall of the food place can take place whenever it has been determined that there is an unacceptable health hazard associated with the food that has reached the consumer marketplace or some aspect of the food violates the law or regulations that govern the product. Traceability and recall. A recall can be initiated without any evidence that the health of the consumer of the food has been affected. A food can contain an unacceptable health hazard as a result of the deficiencies during the manufacture of the product. For some type of the food, contamination can take place during storage, distribution, handling and retailing. The accurate recorded identification of the usage and movement of the raw material, ingredient, products at all stages of the processing, handling, storage and distribution of the food are essential for traceability of a food. Identification. All raw material, ingredient and products including immediate, semi-finished, pre-finished, finished, recycled, reworked, packaged and packaged products should be identified and identification recorded. The identification of a food should be to be shipped from a food plant should be covered the identity of the food, product name, recipe, product code and the time or period of production, for example production date, day code, lot number and batch number. In addition, all packaged food must conform to the applicable ingredient identification requirements of food of government labeling regulations. All raw materials, ingredients, processing aids, packaging materials and the processing and storage equipment used for the production of the particular food should be identified and the identification recorded to ensure that if become necessary, the history of the food can be traced. The location of storage and addresses of the place to which a food has been distributed for use by customers and for sale to customers should be identified in the appropriate shipping and distribution recorders, which should be kept for a period that exceeds for the life of the food in the marketplace. There should be a program for the traceability for every food that is manufactured and shipped from a food plant. This program should cover forward traceability for use of raw material and ingredients and backward traceability for finished products. The traceability program should be based on the use of the relevant identification records and should cover all foods that are in inventory in all warehouses, foods that have been shipped from a food plant and its warehouses, food delivered to customers and food that have been sold to customers. Recall procedure. A written recall procedure should be developed to ensure that if a food which is known to present an actual or potential unacceptable health risk to the consumer has entered the food distribution and retail chain, the food can be retrieved quickly and completely. The recall procedure must meet the requirements or guidelines for recall issued by government regulatory agencies. The recall procedure should be tested periodically to determine its effectiveness and should be based on identification records and the traceability program. The recall and the records and other information that should be retrieved during a recall, food recall and all identification Information relating to the food, including its common and brand names, item number, lot number, best before or expiration date, product code, packaging material and packaging format, packaging container size, a list of all locations with addresses, telephone numbers, and contact information to which the food has been shipped, including all warehouses for its storage, all customers, including distributors, retailers, food service institutions, and restaurants. Recall procedure. Identification of all raw materials, including processing aids, packaging material and processing and storage equipment used for the manufacture of the food, and the processing conditions and storage conditions used for the food. The procedure to be followed to determine which production lots or batches of the food are affected to ensure that the scope of the recall targets to all the affected food. A food company should have permanent crisis management team that has been responsible for food recall as well as other critical food safety concerns. For example, food tampering, other critical safety concerns, environmental safety, employee safety. Chemical controls. The prerequisite program addresses the control of the various chemical hazards that are used in food plants and in the processing of foods that are not covered by critical control points of HACCP plans. These chemical hazards include some permitted food additives, food that are non-allergens, cleaning and sanitizing chemicals, pest control chemicals, and chemicals used for equipment maintenance. The control of many of these chemicals can be achieved by the other prerequisite programs described earlier. For allergens, an allergen control program should be developed to control allergens that are not controlled as chemical hazards by CCPs of the HACCP plans. This program should be devoted to preventing allergen contamination or cross-contamination of food which do not contain allergenic ingredients. There are several additives in food processing plant that can be considered as prerequisite for HACCP. These include activities that relate to food safety, customer complaints, written specifications for materials and products, and exercising control over suppliers of the materials and services. In general, food companies cover the activities in their quality programs or quality systems. Thank you.